Chantal. And I will also hide everyone's faces, so that way we won't get maybe the impromptu walk behind, or it won't matter. Just looking there, and during the recording it doesn't show up either. So as Chantal was saying, it's about how to create that webinar funnels and increase conversions, which is the really important part. It's one thing to be able to create a webinar and spend the time going, this is the information, but how to actually make money from it, or to get your message across, depending on what you are all about. So we'll run through this part here, and this is Chantal is going to talk about this part.
Yeah, so when it comes to, anything that we're doing in our businesses, these are some of the things obviously that we aspire to do or to have. Lots of people, lots of awareness or visibility and interest. But we need those people not only just to be interested in what it is that we're doing, we need them to make a decision, and we need them to then take action and spend their money with you.
And there's reasons why you might be here.
So perhaps you're spending an absolute fortune on advertising and you're not getting any results. Okay, if that's you, who here has spent a whole rack of money on paid advertising and just got no results? If you have an amount, share it in the chat box, because some people get really amazed at how much money people have wasted on it.
Oh, that's something really important that we want to encourage everybody to keep sharing all the way through, and adding things into the chat box, or popping your hand up and doing things, because we can still see what's going on even if we can't see you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's good to see. Alicia said, never done paid advertising. And in the last 6 years of my business, I've done no paid advertising and achieved the results I've got. So it certainly can work when you know what to do. However, you can use webinars in a funnel for paid or unpaid advertising. Okay, so number 2 is you don't understand the tech side and the processes of putting it all together. And this is really important, because if you don't understand the tech side, you're not going to be able to get those signups, and you're not going to get those show ups, and you're not going to get the registrations, the signups, the show ups, and then on top of it, being able to nurture them in the email sequences. You're not getting the right people on your webinars. So people that are actually going to buy. This is really important, because you could have the right offer, but the wrong people, you're not going to be able to make a sale. You're not clear on your call to action and what you want people to do. Often people are unclear on what that offer is, or what they're actually selling, and then what the next steps are for people to do. So simply people do nothing. Giving away too much information. This is something I can do. Janeen might have to pull me back every now and then, because you just want to give away so much information and value consistently. But at the end of the day, you've got to get people to be able to invest in you, to be able to, have that actual value and value that value. And feeling icky when it comes to asking about the sale at the end. So many people simply just won't do it. They just won't have the balls at the end to say, hey, now I actually need you to buy from me. So how can you do it in a non-salesy way?
There's a few people on here that know a little bit about me, and there's some people I haven't met before, which is really, really cool. So my name's Janeen Vosper. It spells it out on the page there. What my background is, I worked as the general manager of sales for a multi-million-dollar business, and had a sales team of 20, all commission-based, which is really what you do when you're in your own business. And one of the businesses I had before that, I used to go and sell gym wear and lay it all out, and then people would place orders for a month later. This is in the 80s, and I was selling over $1,000 worth of gym wear a night. And it was not by being salesy, but it's about the different techniques, which we'll share with you in this a little bit through the webinar, but it's all about building authentic relationships. So the reason I want to tell you, we want to tell you about ourselves, is just so that if you don't know us, you don't know our background and the expertise that we can bring to this here. I've been running webinars now for about 5 years, and I actually spent a couple of $100,000 with some of the best trainers from around the world to learn how to do it well and how to put it together well. Now, I put together webinars nearly monthly, different types of webinars for all different subjects, and get asked to present on these subjects in different spaces. I'm doing a 360 summit for PAs and DAs coming up. And I got feedback the other day from the people running it. They go, this is the best slideshow that they've ever seen. So it was very cool feedback. I've had a podcast I've had for about 5 years. I was asked to give some blogs for Koshi's Business Builders, written a couple of books. So there's a little bit of knowledge about, that I know what I'm talking about on a whole lot of subjects, and hopefully I can help you. And if you've got any questions throughout, hey, that's what I forgot to remind you. If you've got any questions as we go through, what I'd suggest, because they might get lost in the chat, is to write it down a note, and then we can answer those questions at the end. A couple of people that I just want to highlight that I've worked with, Ray and Jane. They are selling a product called Surreal. They weren't making sales. We changed their presentation together, and they incredible results in 6 months, and they tripled their volume of business. It's just a matter of getting the whole package right when you're doing the webinars and when you're putting your slide process together. That's my expertise and the sales component of it. And Chantal?
Yeah, I'm not as fancy as Janeen. I literally fell into this. I fell into it, figured it out along the way, then got qualified. So I did things a bit backwards. But I'm a mum of 3 daughters. My partner's from New Zealand, so I came all the way from South Africa to meet a New Zealand man. And I've got my lovely rescue fur baby Ziggy, which you will see is featured across social media. I have 20 years in the health and fitness industry, which means I was not a marketer. I was not a business person. I was really just a personal trainer. So I did immigrate from South Africa in 2008. And when I did, I went from broke and unknown to building a 6-figure business with no tech experience, no marketing background, and without outsourcing or paying for advertising. And I want to share that with you because it means if I can do it, you can do it. I was not built for this, and yet I was able to do it because I had the skills, the strategies, and the systems. And this is why I'm passionate about bringing that to the table with my now newfound business. So I did go on to get a social media marketing diploma, as well as recently converting into a company. And I've created much needed programs for business owners who are struggling with this new era of online marketing and managing their own stuff. So in business, I recently was just nominated top 10 business strategists in Australia for 2020. And it's quite funny because, again, I just don't see myself as that person. I'm still just, a business owner who's just trying to figure it all out. But it's awesome to be able to impart that knowledge onto everybody else and to help them, reduce the stress and the overwhelm around everything it is that they're doing, so they do not have to spend so much time online trying to figure it out. So I've helped over 1,000 business owners. That's actually increased because I've recently just looked at 0, and it's a lot more than that now. But helping them to get income producing results on online. So I don't just focus on visibility, but how can you have income producing results? And it does come back to that F word, funnels. So business owners, many without websites, emails, or established social media accounts, have made, and these are just some examples, $23,000 just from an email campaign that we did in 2 minutes. $1,000 in orders from dead email lists, getting $3,200 clients, again, without paying for advertising. And some were having $5,000 weeks when they were only making $5,000 a year. That's just some of the results that some of my clients have gotten. So I am an international award-winning strategist and coach. I have been featured in Channel 9 News and across other media for my out-of-the-box marketing, education, and innovation for startups to big business. And I'm an Amazon book author, a podcast guest, a speaker, and a blog writer. And Damien, who's with us today, and I did not know he was going to be here, so I have not rigged this. But just another testimony from Damien, who uses webinars as part of his funnel, and Damien is one of my clients. 55 registered so far for tonight's webinar, just a screenshot, but I know he has had up to 100, again, without paying for advertising. And from that, has been then able to sign them up into one-on-one coaching and group programs, and actually left his paid job and was able to left his paid job and now is able to run his business, his passion project, into a profitable business. And again, just another screenshot there of other results people have gotten from following some of these formulas.
So it's, thank you, Chantal. Look, the reason we wanted to just share a little bit about ourselves for those that know us and don't know us is that as we go through this information, that you know that we know what we're talking about and we've got the results on the board to demonstrate. I think that's really important when you're doing a webinar, that you are actually being able to demonstrate your expertise on a subject. And the subject that we're going to be looking at is these 5 steps on how to create a webinar funnel and increase conversions. Remember, if you've got any questions, please write them down and take notes. You're going to take a copious amount of notes all the way through. So if you've got a pen and paper to do that. The steps that we're going to follow is step number 1 is how to use a webinar funnel to grow your business. You'll see that Chantal and I'll be swapping through each of these steps because we're applying our level of expertise in each one of those steps, but we do comment and because we've both got experience right across the field. Step 2 is how to create a high energy presentation. That's something that's really important. You want to keep people engaged. The step 3 is why you must follow a formula and a proven process. It's like anything in business or in life, to do something that's already worked for somebody else makes a whole lot of sense. And how to market and set up the tech side of your webinar. Definitely Chantal's going to run through that part of it, and how to put it all together so people show up and spend. So is that cool? Is that a big yes? Is that subject going to be of value to people? Can you pop a yes in the chat? And maybe which one's going to jump out for you, that you which step or all steps, or what's going to be the most interest. And I think we start with Chantal here.
Yeah, so when considering, how are you going to use this webinar funnel? You're obviously here today because you're curious about it. So at the end of the day, how are you going to use it to grow your business? Because we don't just do these things because we enjoy talking, although I enjoy talking, so is one of the reasons. But we do want to make sure that we want to be able to grow a business from it. So first, you've got to consider, who is it for? And I always say, you've really got to imagine that you are stalking someone and are as if you met them on Tinder and you went onto social media and you wanted to stalk them and see how they are, their likes, their dislikes, and what it is. You've got to be perfectly clear on who this webinar is for so that you can create a webinar that translates to them. So why do you need to do it? Like, what is the intention of this webinar? What are you hoping to achieve from it? What is the potential of it? A lot of people will know me as not just when it comes to social media and marketing our business. It's not just about visibility. It's not ego metrics, not how many followers it is, but what is the overall potential or the income potential of it for your business? And the value of repurposing your content, because at the end of the day, we don't want to spend our lives online. We don't want to constantly be creating all this content and then doing nothing with it and just creating more and more and more. What can we actually do? How can we repurpose it so we don't have to spend our lives online and can have valuable content and a lot of it to put out and to keep generating more leads?
And those 4 steps, Chantal, hey, they're the 4 steps before you start doing anything, thinking about the content or what it's going to look like, anything. They're the 4 steps that you need to be, that are your priority right from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%, especially with creatives. They just want to start creating, but these are the things that you do need to consider.
Oh, and the 5th step.
And the 5th step. So having a presentation on tap as a lead generation tool. Like I said, next week, somebody just contacted me today and said, can you present next week? I'm back to back with clients this week, but I've got a presentation and a formula. I literally can go in and modify it. And it'll only take me about 20 minutes to do. So great to be able to have one on tap. So this is it. This is the sales webinar funnel in a pretty simple world where you just get registrations. You get a confirmation page, which will give you the event link, the date, the time. Then you attend the webinar and you make money.
Oh, that's simple. That's as easy as it is. Not.
That's as easy as it is, right? There's a lot around. I actually said to Janeen when we were doing this, I'm like, there's actually so much. And Janeen was like, we can't actually put all of that on there. And I'm like, no, you can't. But we are going to go through some of that today.
Yeah.
Okay, so why this webinar and what are you hoping to achieve from it? Who is your audience and where they hang out? So this, again, we're going back to that stalking them and where exactly they are hanging out so that you know how to effectively communicate and provide content that they're actually interested in. What are the pain points of your audience so that you can solve those pain points or even identify with their pain points? What are the problems that you're solving for them? Because when you solve those problems for them or show them that you can solve those problems for them, they will straight away be able to trust you. And what title will tell the story and grab their attention? And that's really important, especially in social media and email marketing, like especially the first 3 or 4 words is really important to be able to grab their attention and get a yes. And what formula will you use to create your webinar? So that whole funnel that we showed you earlier, what is the process or the funnel that you're going to do to be able to get a result? How are you then going to plan your content to be able to get people to sign up and register for the webinar? That is huge. You need to have a content plan because you've got to be able to get them to register and then to show up. So your social media content and your email marketing content around that presentation is really important. And then, of course, what will your PowerPoint presentation look like? And again, it has to look good so that we can get that yes. And how can we effectively communicate to your audience? Again, it's all about getting that yes. And how do you get people to show up through social media and email marketing? So your show up rate can be anything from 20 to 50% of the people will show up, which means you do have to get quite a few registrations. And how do you get people to remain attentive and stay on till the end? How to present your offer and get them to buy. And what are the next steps after the webinar? So if people do not purchase from the webinar, how are we going to continue to nurture them to sell them into either that offer or something else?
So that's a few more steps, Chantal, than what that page looked like, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you go back to the other one, in a perfect world, they say that the webinar funnel is that, but in reality, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And for those of you who do stay till the end today, we do have something for you.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Right. Step 2 is how to create a high energy presentation, which is definitely what we want to do because it keeps people engaged. And there is a formula to doing that, which we'll run through some of that in a moment. And the focus is on the content. And that's usually, I work with a lot of professionals, and that's where they put all their energy and focus is on the content. What information are they going to give? And as you saw by all of those steps on that last part, that is not the most important factor. How are you going to design it? Because that's part of that presentation, what it's going to look like. So we're going to run through some of these things. And what sort of images are you going to use? You probably noticed some of the images we've used are very high quality images, and they sort of gain your attention. And then how are you going to deliver the presentation? Are you going to deliver it with lots of hesitations and ums and ahs, or do you really know your stuff and you can get stuck into it? So let's look at those different components. So the formula, the relevance of what you're going to deliver to your audience is so important. And we talked about making sure you've got the right people on, but what relevance is it to them to be able to do whatever you're going to be able to present? And we find that nearly every industry can present webinars. There's a topic and there's ability to sell from, it doesn't matter what industry you are in, but discovering how you can make it the most relevant for your audience is the most important factor. How can you build your authority and demonstrate? We did that with just talking a little bit about ourselves for a couple of minutes, and you saw that, we had the authority and the knowledge and the ability to do what we do. What content that's come up again is what content, but again, it's not the top #1 thing on the list. Then thinking about your authority again, and how do you demonstrate that? It's by the words you use and the language you use, and maybe there's a testimonial, but it's more that you really do know your stuff. You'll see this come up all the time, and I hope that even by now that you're thinking, well, I think these guys know a little bit about what they're talking about. And again, more content, and you're going to come up again, building more authority because you really know your stuff, your offer. What are you going to offer? What do you want people to do? Do you want to inspire them? Do you want to encourage them? Do you want to motivate them? Do you want them to buy something? And I think most of us are on here because we want people to buy things. So looking at the content of your presentation, you'll see that what we're doing here is we've got 5 different points. I told you at the beginning what those 5 points will be. We'll go through those 5 points. They're broken down for you. And then at the end, I'll recap those 5 points. And that means that you really know what you're going to learn. We'll give you the information, and then we'll recap and tell you, hey, just in case you forgot, this is what you learned. The design of your presentation, how is it going to look? And part of it is the style. One of the styles I commonly use for these types of presentations is the banner across the top, reminding you what we're going to do. And the picture sort of is quite electric in what we're doing. Images are so important. There's opportunity where you can take notes, but when you're delivering this type of webinar, it's not all about training and content. It's about persuading people or showing people that you've got a lot more information to give, and if they invest in you, that they will receive a lot more information. So making sure that most of your presentation has got images. Choosing the font of your presentation and the size, that's really important as well. Keep it as simple as possible. Animations, don't have too many animations coming in. As you see on all of this, there's just things are just appearing. You can have transitions between slides. Again, don't make them too over the top, because it just becomes too bouncy and people lose what you're saying. The color is really important. We've used the colors of Chantal's marketing, which is the green and blue, and just being really consistent with your font and color and everything throughout is so important. Go back and check all the things over and over again. Now, looking at images, it's not one of the best image, but doesn't this image tell a story? And if you're talking about green space and making the world green, then this is a really cool image to use. Make sure the images are high quality, and you may need to purchase them to get the top quality images. If your presentation is about meditation or being calm or finding calm in your life, then this is a beautiful image as well. Again, that image has to tell the story. It's so important to get the right images. In the delivery, you need to be confident. You need to sound confident. You need to be confident in your quality of the material that you are delivering. High energy. I delivered a webinar presentation to, it was over 300 accountants, and the model I used wasn't Zoom, and I couldn't see a single person the whole time, and 1 hour coaching in sales. And so the energy you use when you're delivering on a webinar has to be a lot higher than if you're delivering in person. No filler words, no ums, ahs, actually basically likes, all of those things that if we're feeling a little bit nervous, we might chuck in, and it's okay to have a couple of them, but not when you're constantly doing it. So learning how to present without putting a lot of filler words in. Enunciate clearly, especially if you've got people coming on where English isn't their first language. Everyone needs to be able to understand you clearly. The pace. Now, we've got this going pretty quick here today because we've got a time frame and people have set that time apart. But the pace you speak out a little bit faster online in a webinar creates that sense of urgency and that sense of high energy. We want to make sure that we want a variety in the pace when you're presenting. Your pause is really powerful. When I work with clients and teach them how to deliver speeches and presentations, we use pause a lot. Pitch, changing up the pitch in your voice, whether it's higher pitch or lower pitch. And again, pause, because I really like pause. And gestures that you're using, it's a bit harder online to get really involved with gestures, but the biggest gesture you have is your facial expression. Now, what we've done today is we have turned off so that we can't see, and you can't see us and we can't see you. A couple of reasons for that. One in particular is that when you have got the people's faces down the side, you lose part of your presentation. So if we had kept them there, we would need to have change this presentation completely so that that space down the side wasn't anything of value that we wanted you to see. And we also are doing it because of recording it. It looks a lot cleaner to do it. So thinking about that, I do it both ways. Sometimes I have the faces there, but then I have to create a presentation that suits that. And again, no filler words. That's such an important thing, that we're not repeating things. So the delivery is so very, very important. And why you must follow, this is number 3, why you must follow a formula and a proven process. There's the word specific structures in the webinars that work. So asking that question, yes, there is a really, and I hope you're following along what we're doing and paying attention to that as well, because that will help you with the structure of that. How do you strike the perfect balance between content and pitch? And Chantal, jump in with anything that you want to add, with anything I'm going through, of course, as well. But it's that getting, you don't want to, yes, please put a yes in there. If you've ever been on a webinar and you've got off after an hour and gone, I didn't learn a single thing. The whole thing was just pitchy. And now I feel like I've lost an hour and it's been a con and it's just been all about the pitch. So if you've ever had that, pop that in the chat, because I know that's something really common. And or you've been on a webinar, people give you so much content and then they rush at the end and you don't get to know what the offer was and you miss out. So getting that balance. Transition smoothly from that teaching to selling mode. Let's see how we're going to do that today. How long does your webinar need to be? Depending on the amount of content that you've got. I know it happens a lot, 5 minutes content, then just pitch. Yeah, I know it does happen an awful lot. And the webinar, depending on how long your audience can pay attention and what amount of content you've got, I find about 45 minutes to it, about an hour and a half is the optimal time. And starting a presentation, you need a title slide. As we said before, the title is so important because that's part of your marketing, and that you're about to discover. So what we did was we gave you problems or things that you may have done, and that was what that would help you with what you're going to be learning. You talk about who you are. That's such an important aspect of your presentation. And we load it, and we do that at the beginning, as I said, because it's important for people to know and understand who you are and the expertise that you have. And front load results and future casts, so things that you've done before with working with other people or any results that you have achieved. And the promise that, these are the 5 steps that we're going to be able to help you with today, and you'll take that away, however you want that promise to be. And we always have it before we go any further. Just make sure you take notes, that you write down any questions that you have along the way. And Chantal, let's write your face on it here. And yeah, I'm just reading that. Part of the mastermind group, 5 years, spent tens of thousands of upsells and really didn't work. Okay, cool.
So you do not need to write all this down because there's a lot there. But for you, if you stay till the end today, we will be taking a screenshot at the end and we will be emailing this out to you. This is my 5-step webinar sales formula. So earlier on, when you saw the webinar, which was like, yep, registrations, yep, you get this, and it literally was a 4-step process. I've got a 5-step process, which I personally follow for myself as part of your marketing and what you do, which includes, number 1, you're getting signups and how you do that. Number 2 is getting people to show up, because like I said, the percentage is anything from nothing to 50% showing up. Creating a winner webinar, right? Because it's got to be a winner. It's got to actually win. And number 4 is the follow-up, because it's one of my favorite F words for the people who work with me. One of my favorite F words is follow-up. You have to follow up, because sometimes people require a little bit of nurturing in order to get them to sign up. And the last one then is about nurturing, because even if it's a no, if it's a no to that offer, it might just be a no for right now, or it might be a yes to something else that you have down the line. So how are you going to nurture those people? So we will be sending this to you if you stay on till the end today. And it is also incredibly important for you to offer a show up bonus in your webinar presentations to get people to show up and stay till the end. It does compel them to do just that. So the social media side. How do you market and set up the tech side of the webinar? So here's the thing. I don't think any of that's techie, and I don't really believe social media is techie, because if a non-techie person like me can learn how to do it, then you can learn how to do it. But we will just say that that's what you're probably thinking it is. So these are just some of the things that you have to consider when it comes to your marketing. Google My Business. Google My Business is #1 in the search engines of the world. So what can you do on Google My Business to get people to sign up? I know that Ebony is on the call today, and in our second appointment working on Google, she actually got an inquiry off Google My Business. So Google My Business, you cannot forget about Google My Business. Number 2, Facebook. Facebook's got 3.8 billion people using Facebook on a daily basis. So by all means, it's number 2 when it comes to social media. So what can you do on Facebook to get people to show up and sign up? Instagram's owned by Facebook. What can you do on Instagram, especially if your audience is of a younger demographic? They will be on Instagram. How can you use the platform and features like Reels and Lives and hashtags? LinkedIn, perhaps you're doing B2B. How can you use LinkedIn and the events feature, again, to market your webinar and get people to register? Video marketing. Video marketing is a huge component. What can you do? What if you want to be forefront in your videos? What if you don't want to be forefront? Maybe you're too shy to do lives. So what other video marketing can you be doing to get people to sign up? And again, I've used Reels as an example, or perhaps, TikTok, Snapchat, and the other platforms. And there's a lot of platforms, but the good news is that you do not need to be on all of them. You only need to be on the platform where your audience is, and so that you can communicate to them and get them to sign up. And the sign up. So this is the registration. So we've got social media, but the whole purpose of being on social media is to get them obviously to register. What platforms are you going to use? The first webinar that we did, there's Humanitics, there's Zoom. Some people use Google Meet. And there are many other platforms that you can use. So what platforms are you going to use? Eventbrite's another one, in order to be able to take those registrations. You then got to look at the system. Whatever platform you choose to do the registration through, you've got to get to know that platform, and you've got to work out what the next step is. Because, for example, with Humanitics, if you get them to register on Humanitics, they do not get the Zoom registration link straight away. So whatever platform you use, you've got to then know what is the next logical step for your customer. How are you then going to get them to add that registration link to their calendar? How are you then going to send them those reminders and actually get them to sign up so they don't forget about you? Automations. How do you automate those processes so that you don't have to do it? So for example, I've got an email marketing system that I use, and along the way, you would have been receiving emails talking about this webinar presentation that we're doing to get you or to compel you to actually show up today. But those have been all automated, which means every time I run a webinar, I literally can add people to the automation, just update the content, and I don't actually have to physically go in each time and do it. So once it's set up, it automatically can run on autopilot. And then the payment options. So at the end, when you do make an offer, it's really important that you are able to take payment immediately. None of this, I'll send you an invoice, because then you have to follow up on that. None of this, here are my bank details, let me know when you put it into my account. But how can you simply take payment online? Are you going to use Square, PayPal, Stripe? And again, if it is going to be a subscription offer, how are you going to take payments over a subscription offer? If it's going to be on a direct debit plan, how are you going to do that? And making sure then, of course, that you have the T's and C's attached to that as well. And then registrations. Perhaps you have a website, perhaps you don't. If you have a website, how are you going to take registrations through the website? If you don't have a website, how are you going to take registrations? It will then have to be through a landing page. And direct messaging. And there are pros and cons when it comes to this, but there are things like bots that you can use, or some email marketing systems can actually send you a text message. So without paying for ads, you can actually send a text message to someone to say, hey, here's your link, hope to see you soon. And as I mentioned, bots. So bots is a whole different ball game. A lot of it can become quite expensive. It does also affect your social media ratings. So whatever you do choose to use when it comes to the tech side of your process or your system, it is important that you understand how that works and what the pros and cons of it are. because there's a whole bunch of stuff out there, but whatever you do use, you've got to know how to do it, how to use it and how to use it well. You do need to know the pros and cons of using it. Who is this? Janeen, is this me or you?
Yeah, that's you. The little
This is me.
blue star,
Yeah,
yeah.
the little blue star. Cool,
Just for that, just the relevance of when you're putting and you're working with somebody else on doing something like this, it's really difficult to do, even though you know the amount of experience, because one person's got control of the slides and moving it through, and then knowing who turns up and who speaks about what. So we've got these little color-coded little stars and lines and things like that to help us remember. That doesn't sort of impede on the presentation, but it certainly does help, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. So how do you then put all of it together so people actually show up and spend? And again, you certainly do want them to spend. It's never just about the know, like, and trust, because the know, like, and trust gets them to eventually spend with you. So we talk about the marketing email sequences. And like I said earlier, it's about nurturing people to actually get them to show up. The registration email, that's another thing that you can do. So if you can either do this manually, or you can use an email marketing system. So I use ActiveCampaign, but you could use something like MailChimp or MailerLite, and there are many others that you could use, but making sure that they do get a registration email with information. And then, as I said, nurturing them so that you do get them to show up, so they see the value in actually taking time out of their day to actually show up for that webinar. And then reminder emails. So you would have received a reminder email 24 hours beforehand. A reminder email, I think it's set for about an hour before again, because people get busy, right? And then on top of it, continuing with your social media all the way up until the end. And then on top of it, I would also, because I've used Zoom, I would then also send another reminder email through Zoom, because I know that Zoom will directly send you that link. And then, of course, a thank you email. So tomorrow you will all expect to get the recording with a thank you email with the offer. So it makes it really easy for people to do. And that whole process has been automated. It's part of the formula. So we can rinse and repeat for every webinar that we use. And then follow-up emails, because as I said earlier, sometimes people are not quite, that might not quite be the offer for them. Maybe the timing is wrong, or maybe they just want to work with you in another space. So being able to follow up with them through emails, and again, having those templated and automated, means that we can re-engage those prospects. And again, I have said this, my favorite F word, follow up, follow up, follow up, because sometimes people just need an extra nudge. I know that with Ebony and with Damien, I think I had multiple phone calls with them before they actually did sign up and do my program. So making sure that if you are going to add value, that you do give time for that, and you certainly can do that through emails. Rinse, repurpose, repeat, couple of my favorite R words, along with review. So when you set up your sequence and you set up your customer journey and you set up the techie side and the whole, the whole formula of getting people to register, to show up, and then follow up, then review the process. Where is it working or not working? So don't just throw the whole thing out, but actually look at the individual steps and just tweak it so that you can optimize it and get it to work for you. Your world is your oyster when it comes to webinars. How awesome is it that you can touch and reach the entire world through webinars? So your prospects don't literally need to be on your doorstep. They can be worldwide.
So putting it all together, that's another part of this step 5, is having a really strong call to action and offer. So you need to get this very, very clear about exactly what you want somebody to do and how you're going to have that call to action. How are you going to ask for money? And part of it is how people are going to pay, but how are you going to ask for the money so that it makes it easy for people to do that? And how you take the money, as Chantal said, you really need to have some good systems set up so people can pay, but there's a lot of different, types of ways that people can pay. How to get people to take action then and there. So you need to have incentives with your webinars. I know we have incentives with this one, that there's special bonuses. We have other people that can just book into the offer, which you'll see shortly. But if you do it here during the webinar, then you have more you get, you know, thousands of dollars worth of more offers and incentives to do it there. So what's your incentives that you're going to have so people will do it there and then? Because once people go away, they forget sometimes the importance of what they want to be doing. And how will this work for you? And we've got a whole lot of industries. We talked about that, Chantal, because we've worked with so many different people from incredible wide range of industries where this type of funnel building capacity with the webinar has worked really well.
Yes, 100%. So your industry should be on here. If you have a look, see if you fit in here. I know Andrew Jenner's on at the moment, and I don't think we've got wine on here, but he's a winery. So
oh, okay. Yeah, we've got to add winery. I've actually got clients that are from a winery as well, and it's been really interesting what we've been doing with it to change things up a bit, because they lost all their overseas customers. So yeah, okay.
I've actually got a brewery as well, so I can't believe we left alcohol out of this one. That was terrible, Janeen.
But what we're saying is it belongs, any industry can, as long as you've got the right offer and you follow all of those steps, and particularly those ones from the first step and figuring out all the reasons why you're doing it. I think we've missed anyone on there at all. So what have we covered, Chantal?
So in review, step one, we spoke about how to use the webinar funnel to grow your business. So it was all about growth, not just doing it for visibility. Number two, we spoke about Janeen spoke about creating a high energy presentation. And I did mention in there earlier around how I cannot cope with a mundane, boring, slow, monotone presentation. It literally drives me insane. I will switch it off straight away. Step three, why you must follow a formula and a proven process, because there is so much out there and it can be stressful and overwhelming. Step four was how to market and set up the tech side of your webinar, because there are so many options out there and it's important to know how they work individually. And step five was about how to put it all together so people show up and actually spend.
Yeah, so that's really comprehensive list of those. I hope everyone's taken some really great notes. And, you know, thinking about what you are going to apply immediately. I'd love to everyone pop some stuff in the chat about, out of all the things that we've covered, what is it that you think that you might be able to apply if you're putting together a webinar that you might be able to apply immediately? I'll just monitor the chat as we go. And what more do you need to know is the question as well. Hey, Chantal, what else is there that you think, okay, I've got this, I got the idea of what I need to do, but how am I going to put it together, and what do I need to know about that?
Yeah, I love that, Janeen, because one of my things for 2022, because I started the year with COVID. I mean, who didn't here on the Gold Coast? But one of the things was like, I don't want to waste any more of my time, right? I just want to get things done, and I just want to do them properly, and I want to keep moving. I don't want to waste any energy on things that I don't know what I'm doing or how to do them properly.
Yeah, look, I had somebody had a post the other day that said, what, you know, things do you hand off? And just really thought about all the things that I just don't do well, or I know I can't do it as fast. And I had a list of a few things that I certainly delegate often, or I learn how to, or I go and get some help on how to do it well, which is the important factor. The Create Your Webinar Funnel 2-day bootcamp. We have got a 2-day bootcamp coming up very, very soon. And it is in that bootcamp, you're going to receive step-by-step instruction by 2 industry experts, Chantal and myself, on how to implement all of the strategies that we've talked about right now. Now you're going to create your webinar, and you're going to learn how to do all of those components. What was about 20 steps, I think, that we showed that you need to do to get a successful webinar. Tell me about the boot camp, Chantal.
I love the word boot camp. You know me and boot camps. So this is not more education. I need to say this. There are so many things out there where you just get education, like today, where, you know, we're just giving you education around the webinar funnel and what you can do. This is us actually working together to make sure that we can find more of your audience in line. And I did this, turn them into buy levers.
Yeah, love that word.
I know, it's my new word. So turn them into buy levers so that, you know, they actually do show up and spend. But like I said, we're physically going to be creating and making this with you. So you will get our formula and you will get all the resources in the 2-day bootcamp. So you leave with everything done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's an important factor. You know, a lot of people go, you know, a lot of people buy online stuff and then never actually do it. I'm going to put my hand up for having done that. And then never, and spending a lot of money on some of them and never having done it because there's not somebody there on my back making sure I get it finished. The funnel, what are we getting?
So in the 2-day boot camp, which is on the 18th and 25th of February. So have a look and see what you're doing on Friday, the 18th and 25th of February. And there is a reason why we've put it a week apart. So this is going to be held live on the Gold Coast. You're going to be locked in a room and I'm going to make you do burpees. No, I'm not. But we are going to work through this creating your webinar funnel from beginning to end over those 2 days. And that is on the Gold Coast. And the total value of that is $3,735.
Yeah. And what we've also extended, haven't we, Chantal, is people who can't make it there. We know there's a lot of things going on at the moment in people's houses, and that is that they can log in and attend online in the same room though.
Yeah.
It's still going to be boot camp for them. There'll be no excuses.
No, lock you in a room, make you do it, make you get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so also what's included in this 2-day boot camp is full support. So for those of you who know myself and Janeen, it is all about full support. So one-on-one sessions with 2 experts. So we do have that week in between where you could take advantage of that, but you're going to get one-on-one. So I'm going to be working on the marketing aspect of it, refining the marketing process of your content plan and your platforms and all your systems so that you 100% know what to do to be able to get people to register for your webinar, whilst Janeen is going to be working with you on the presentation, putting together this awesome presentation that you can use and repurpose, along with how to actually present, to have the confidence to present.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a favorite part of mine. And I did mention earlier on with Jane and Ray, and Chantal, the reason that Chantal and I, decided to put this together is just we knew how important it was for people to get it right, because we see a lot of people doing it wrong. But we also have this real passion and drive to make sure that our clients are successful. And certainly, with my clients, and this is just a small example, these ladies got to go to Vegas before obviously 2020 and get the right accolades and had huge success. And they said the only difference was how they had put the webinar together and then how they delivered the sell at the end.
This is a testimonial from a client, Fern. Now, this story is pretty interesting because Fern came to me, he had absolutely no presence on Facebook at all, wasn't really clear on her offer. And we worked on her offer, we worked on the webinar presentation. But in the marketing, so in the actual marketing plan and on the way to running the actual webinar and making the sale, she actually had an inquiry prior to that and said, I see what you're doing. I've seen your marketing plan. I see what you're promising and what you're saying. I don't even want to go to the webinar. I just want to actually sign up right now. And she actually sold a $3,400 a client into a $3,400 program just from the marketing prior to the actual webinar. So that's a pretty interesting and awesome story to share.
Yeah, it's very cool. I love it. And yeah.
Plus, we want to reward you if you've already made up your mind. So as Janeen said earlier, have that, compel people to take action right now. So have that incentive. So you'll be happy to hear that there are awesome bonuses as well. And this is how you offer incentives.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is a copy of one of my books. If you've already got a copy of Good Girls to Sell, then you can get a copy of Being Unstoppable. But it helps reinforce things in there so you learn about authentic selling, and that's valued at $30. So we start and we build up here, don't we?
Yeah, but wait, there's more. So bonus number 2 is you get my do-it-yourself Facebook and Facebook ads program, and you'll get lifetime access to that. And the value of that, I think, is around, $997. And alternatively, for some of you who may have done my programs before, you may already have those programs. And if you do, I'll happily throw in my online business marketing program to the same value as well.
Cool. And the third one is access to my Direct Sales Mastery online program. Now, this has been really popular. There have been people that have been buying into this for, for the last 5 years, and amazing results. And you have, as long as I'm around, you have access to that program, and it's valued at $657.
And we, of course, I love a cheat sheet. Who doesn't love a cheat sheet or a template or something? Like, I just want a visual that's really nice and easy to follow. So it's a visual guide on the exact process that you have got to do for your marketing plan, so that you wake up every day and you know what to do. That's all I ever wanted. Maybe that's my fitness background, where when I was a triathlete, I had a program and you just woke up and you knew what swimming or running or, what session you had on that day. Who would like a marketing cheat sheet? It means you're not going to pull out your hair anymore, but you'll know simply what to do every day. I want that. Valued at $297. I want more of me.
Love that too.
So you will learn how to use social media and email marketing to promote your event without paying for ads. Okay. Effectively communicate and compel action through your marketing content plan. So you, like Fern, can sell even before, make sales and build that know, like, and trust before your webinar even runs. Have a social media event management plan. And be able to take payment and price it. So many times people go to me, I don't know how to price that. I don't know what bonuses to give people. I don't know what, value adds I can give, or how to take payment. We're going to help you with all of that. And then, of course, setting up the entire webinar event, taking registration and automation. So getting that entire thing done and dusted.
And also what you're going to learn is how to create a persuasive presentation. You're going to learn how to get people to show up and stay and spend, and how to sell without feeling pushy and salesy, which is something that people tell me is one of the biggest issues they have. Great with their content, they know a lot of value, but when it comes to the sales part, that doesn't feel comfortable. It's the most important part, because people can absolutely need what you've got to offer, and it'd be very selfish of you if you didn't share that information. Present with confidence and authority, and how to do that well. Follow up and follow through, as we know, these are Chantal's favorite words, after the webinar, and whether it's a yes or no. And that's an important factor as well, is to make sure that you do that, and how to use time-saving templates and tools. That's how we can create a presentation in 30 minutes, is with those templates and tools. Now, let me tell you what you get. You take a note of all of this, because we're going to go past these slides. So when you join the boot camp, you get the 2-day boot camp with both Chantal and myself. You get a copy of Good Girls to Sell. You get the online DIY Facebook and Facebook ads program. You get access to the Direct Sales Mastery online program, and you get the webinar funnel marketing roadmap cheat sheet. And all of that is valued at $6,113. And that's yours. When you sign up for the boot camp, all of that is yours as part of the boot camp value. But we're all going to tell you, aren't we, Chantal?
Of course, you're not going to pay that much today.
It's been like mistake times 6.
2 experts, 2 boot camps. You're going to leave with a presentation and a marketing plan, all those additional bonuses. Can you build an effective webinar sale process another way? I know I personally spent thousands of dollars, was shoved into a group program. I didn't get feedback. Nobody went over my presentation or showed me what I did. I spent so much money. I fumbled, it probably took me about 3 years to kind of get this all going. What a waste of time. I left so much money on the table.
And that's really basically what this is, isn't it? The complete. And most, I said before, most of the time you don't complete it.
Yeah, so you could pay big money for another online course you just don't complete. So just download something and don't even use it. And it won't be specific to you. I think that was really important. So, you know, when you're working one-on-one with a coach or in a small group, and this is limited to 10 people, it means that we're going to talk specifically to you. So we're not going to do cookie cutter or fluffy. We will actually apply it to your industry and give you the best choice for you and your process and your industry. And you can spend years learning to do this yourself, muddling through it, all while blowing great opportunities. Like I know I certainly did. And I wish I didn't. I wish I hadn't done it. What a waste of my time.
I know. I wish I had gone back and done some of those first webinars again. I'm sure they were, could have been different results from that. Yeah.
The fact is there is just no comparison between doing that or working with a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that by ourselves. So the offer is, I know this is sounding a little bit crazy, it's $6,113 worth of value. If you join that 2-day boot camp and get all of those bonus offers, you can pay one-time payment of $997, or you can pay 16 weekly payments of $97 if you need to do it that way. You know, that sometimes people think, well, I'll just spread it out a little bit. That's cool. You're quite welcome to do that. Or you can save a heap and pay that one price of $997. All of that value. Yeah, but wait, I think there's more. I'm just trying to think. Yes, there is more. A mega bonus, 1 hour private coaching with each of us. So that is valued at $653. And that's the thing that is only available for the people that are on this webinar, is that you get to spend 1 hour, just you and me, and you and Chantal, both of us, and run through everything that you need to fully understand to be able to put your webinar together and to get people there and to sell from the webinar. I'd help you, teach you how to speak for profit, and I'll audit your presentation, and Chantal will do a really deep dive into your online marketing. For those that have worked with her before, just knows, that's a good word, know how much value all of that is. So I think if we add all that, now the whole value of the offer is $6,766. And again, we are only running this for 10 people because it's just be overwhelming to do it with any more than 10 people. And we've got people booked in. We just want to make sure that we give the best value that we can possibly get. So again, $997 for the whole thing, for all of that content, or you can pay 16 weekly payments. I think Chantal has put that link in the chat. Now, anyone, did you want to add anything onto that, Chantal, at all?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a good example here at the end that you can see how we have one link, been able to put it in the chat box, which will be able to give you access to be able to pay up front and save, or alternatively be able to take payment from a payment option. So being able to do that at the end of a webinar is incredibly important. And as we said, only available to the people on this webinar today. You will get the one-on-one coaching as well. And that was something I certainly did not get when I signed up for all my programs that I've done when it comes to webinars. I never got feedback. I never got someone going, oh, what do you think about this slide here? Should I change the font? What about, you know, putting the offer here? What do you think about the pricing? How do I take the payment? I mean, being able to have that. So 2 days with us, or maybe that's a lot of time with us, Janeen.
Yeah.
You must love working with us, because yeah, you will get two days with us, 2 Fridays. Okay, maybe we'll have champagne or wine afterwards. Maybe Andrew Jenner can sort us out with that. But yeah, 2 Fridays, a week in between, so you actually got time to go and work on it and set it all up, and then one-on-one coaching with 2 experts to just even give you that feedback even more individually on your own. It's insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring back the panel with the people on it as well. So if you've decided to strip off in the heat or something like that, just a little bit of a warning to pop it all back on before we come back in. Any questions now? It's a great chance to ask us questions. You can either put in the chat or unmute. If you've got questions about what the program would involve, or you've got questions about anything that we have presented, we would love to be able to help you out and get some feedback.
And I would love it, Janeen, if they could just click on that link and just see if it opens up in a browser, because always check your links and make sure that they work. So if you can click into that and have a look, that would be amazing. It just let me know that that's working.
Cool.
Excellent.
Questions
So
working. Okay.
yeah, so
Beautiful.
that's actually a trick, guys, something that you can use. It's a trick. I just got you all to open the page so that you have it there, so that at the end of this presentation, you're not going to lose that link.
Yeah, beautiful. I've booked all this camping time and I've gone, oh no, I've got all this training thing, because those people on here that know me well, this is what I love to do, being in front of people. And I ran a workshop the other day and we did it online, which was okay for half a day, but being in front of people is the best thing. I just absolutely love it. I know you do as well.
Yes, definitely. I can't help myself.
Any questions, or do we just sort of give you so much information that you...
Ebony, if you click into the chat box, you'll notice that I put a link in there. It'll be blue. That particular link I set up in Thrivecart.
Yeah, she's got it.
Awesome, because you're able to, there we go. Excellent,
Beautiful.
because you're able to put 2 links on 1 link, and that's why I've set it up in Thrivecart. But I do have some other hacks for people who don't want to invest in, because it is a little bit expensive.
Cool.
I do have some other hacks.
I haven't got any questions, Chantal. Everyone else has just covered everything so well. Any comments?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, Ebony.
So I work in an industry where I deal with clients that can cross multiple different audience types. So one webinar may not be suitable for another client. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on actually setting up an ongoing calendar to sort of redo webinars? Is there, like, would you set up a webinar and perhaps run it once a month, or do you do them just as a once-off and do them again?
Ebony, for me, and Chantal will answer what she does too. For me, I have 3 or 4 different webinars that I run. One's a sales one, one's a speaking one, one's a communication one. And then I market to different audiences for each of those webinars, and the same audience as well, because sometimes that just attracts people. And I run mine live, and I run them about once. There's usually one a month going on. But what you can do once you've recorded them, you don't necessarily need to be there to run the webinars. If you're running them really frequently for a particular audience, you can just play the record. And I know a lot of people who do that. I personally like being on and being live, and I think it gives a lot more energy. But if you've run the presentation well with the energy, then it doesn't really matter. That way you're saving the time.
Yeah,
that's Chantal.
Yeah, that's perfectly answered, Janeen. So at the end of the day, your title would be really important, and your marketing plan for that webinar would be really important. So who this is for, and be specific. So if it is only specifically for one type of person or industry, to be perfectly clear in that in your marketing and your headlines. And like Janeen said, you could then save that into YouTube, public or unlisted, and there's pros and cons to each. So I can explain that more in detail when we talk. But at the end of the day, you could put it onto YouTube, and then you could repurpose that content. So you could either create it as an evergreen webinar, meaning that it's a webinar that people could opt into. So for example, if it was for spousal visas, they literally could go spousal visa webinar. They could put in the email address, because it's really important for you to collect their email address, and then they would be able to view that webinar. So there's a couple of things that you can do there, and paid advertising, unpaid advertising, repurposing of that content, running it as evergreen, so that you don't have to duplicate it all the time. So hopefully that answers your question. Is Damien still there? Has he had to go jump off?
Did that answer the question, Ebony?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, excellent.
Excellent, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Someone's been sensitive. Oh yeah, I know who that is.
So Madonna, what industry is that?
Madonna's a naturopath.
Yeah, look, you do have to be careful, of course, in industries, what you promise and what you say. And I know that that's frustrating. So I completely understand. I've got 20 years experience in the health, wellness and fitness industry.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful, as well as MLM businesses and cryptocurrency. At the end of the day, whoever owns the platforms, it's their platform, they can do whatever they like. So we've got to just use them the best way that we can.
Yeah, that's my problem with uploading things that say anything, because just about everything I believe is against the censors at the moment.
Yeah.
So therefore, when Monkey Chimp, they've been taking people off. PayPal have been taking people off. Everyone has been stopping the ability for anyone who thinks outside the norm to be paid. So this has been going on, and so every time I dip my toe in anything,
the best way to do that
around.
is, you do have to be careful about the opinions that you do publicly, because platforms own it. But at the end of the day, building your email list is really important, because through your email list, you can you have a lot more freedom through your email list.
Right.
A lot more freedom. So all you've got to do is get them onto an email list, and you've got a lot more freedom then and be able to communicate to them. The only thing you don't want is people to mark you as spam. So you want to get the right people onto your email list.
Yeah, and choosing the right email list. I know Madonna's got issues with MailChimp, so choosing others that there's not an issue with the emails going out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. So
yeah, okay, that's a good point, Ebony. Yeah, cool. All right, if we haven't got any more questions, and if anyone wants to know a little bit more about, again, reminder of what you receive, then Chantal's going to have a full list going out and doing all the follow-ups and everything that she reminded you that you need to do.
All the F-words will be coming tomorrow. So you will get the recording. You will also get your webinar for showing up today. You will get that as well. And of course, if you do sign up, you will get those if you sign up within, and you do have the link, so just click in the link. But if you do sign up shortly, you will be able to get the one-on-one coaching sessions with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the important factor, is the one-on-ones.
For sure. With
each of us. Yeah. All right, we are done. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm just going to chat Chantal, so don't quite jump off, but if everyone else is ready to leave, we'll
thank
see you
so
at
much,
the training, or we'll see you back online.
Yeah, excellent.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Yeah, have an amazing
Stay
week,
cool.
Bye, girls.
See ya.
Right.
I think you can actually see the humidity in the back of my lounge. Like, it's that humid.
And we've just got Jeff. He's got away from the thing. We can.
I'm just going to remove. Just in
I
case
was going to say we can do that. And okay, cool. All right.